Hello students, I am Sobia Zafar from Jamia Hamdard. The module for in vivo testing is divided into two parts. In part 1, we will be discussing about the different animal models used for the common ailments of humans, and in the second part we will be discussing about the different testing techniques as per the ICH. So, the learning objectives of this module are: first is what is the in vivo testing, then we'll be discussing about the different animal models for the drug-drug interaction studies. We'll be also discussing about the animal rules as per the FDA and the different in vivo models for some common human diseases. Unlike in vitro models, which reflect only one particular aspect of the whole picture, the in vivo models are multifactorial, provide the combined effect of permeability, distribution, metabolism and excretion, and can yield a measurable set of pharmacokinetic parameters and toxicology endpoints. The human-based in vitro assays relative to the other assays can provide a closer estimate of human clinical outcomes, especially for properties that are known to have species differences but have good in vitro in vivo correlation in humans. The in vitro systems provide a stagnant, simplified and isolated experimental milieu and do not accurately reflect dynamic, integrated and complex in vivo human systems, and hence sometimes fail to predict clinical interaction potential of drugs. Furthermore, the miscalculation of the drug inhibitory potential from the human in vitro data may preclude a safe drug from advancing in clinic or may facilitate a drug with undesirable drug-drug interaction capability to progress in the clinic. However, the animal models may help to bridge this gap and substantiate the extrapolation of the in vitro human data to clinical outcomes to alleviate the probability of clinical failure of a drug. Absorption, distribution, metabolism and excretion studies are important for the drug discovery and development. The decision to advance, hold or terminate the drug candidate is predicted from the ADME parameters obtained using the in vitro and in vivo models. Animal models are essential to bridge the translational gap between preclinical and clinical research. The translational value of animal experiments can be enhanced by the inclusion of safety parameters and more clinically relevant endpoints. The in silico models predict drug behaviors based on the physicochemical properties of the drug in combination with the crystal structures of protein and database of ADME properties generated in laboratories. Pharmacokinetic screening performed in rodents or non-rodents using several dosage regime and administration routes in the drug discovery process allows optimization of the lead compound, which is more likely to succeed in the preclinical testing and in the clinic. Now, in the next section, we'll be discussing about the preclinical ADME models. In the drug discovery stage, the mass balance study and the ADME studies are conducted using non-radiolabeled compounds, generating limited data for the parent drug and its metabolite. However, 14 carbon or 3 hydrogen labeled materials are utilized in the drug development and ADME studies, which provide more elaborated quantitative data on the circulating metabolites, extent of metabolism, and routes of excretion of the drug or its metabolites. The radioactivity levels in different tissues at specified time points are measured by QWBA. This is a process in which whole body animal sections are exposed to a phosphorimaging screen and scanned with a phosphorimager. The data obtained is then extrapolated to human tissues based on the body surface area and body weight, tissue exposure to the radioactivity. The animal species usually used in the tissue distribution studies are pigmented long Evans rat, which provide information on dosimetry for various tissues and organs, which further support the human ADME studies. The mass balance studies are designed to mimic the toxicology studies closely in factors such as dose and the route of administration and compound vehicle. The typical administered radioactivity should be sufficient to generate metabolic profiles in plasma at multiple time points with adequate radioactivity sensitivity. The length of the study depends on the terminal elimination half-life of the parent compound. The matrix, including plasma, urine or fecal matter, is collected for the analysis of radioactivity and for metabolite profiling. Additionally, tissue samples can also be collected to determine drug concentration in the particular tissue. Now we'll be discussing about the animal models for the drug-drug interaction studies. Polytherapy with two or more drugs is common due to co-occurrence of several ailments in patients, leading to the increased possibility of drug-drug interaction. Pharmacokinetic drug-drug interaction often accounts for severe adverse drug reactions in patients, resulting in withdrawal of drug from the market. Hence, the prediction of DDI is necessary at preclinical stage of drug development. Regulatory bodies including US FDA and European Medicine Agency have therefore provided guidelines for conducting drug interaction studies during the drug development program. As per US FDA, the investigational new drug should be evaluated for drug-drug interaction during drug development stage. If the metabolite shows more than 25% of parent drug's area under curve, its drug-drug interaction studies should also be performed. Also, drug metabolism pathway or enzyme found to be responsible for greater than 25% of investigational drugs overall elimination should be evaluated in vivo using suitable inhibitors or inducers. Thus, the objective of the drug-drug interaction studies is to determine interaction, if any, between the investigational drugs and the other drugs, and also whether the potential for such interaction warrants the need of dose adjustment, therapeutic drug monitoring, contraindication to concomitant use, or supplementary measure to alleviate the risk. With the advent of modern molecular biology and genetic engineering tools, several novel animal models like knockout rat or mouse, transgenic rat or mouse with humanized drug metabolizing enzymes, and or transporters and chimeric rat or mouse with humanized liver have been developed. These closely resembles the human biochemical system and are better predictors of clinical drug-drug interaction outcomes. The animal models used in drug-drug interaction studies are generally categorized into 5 types. First is native animal models, which are the wild types. Second is the chimeric animal models. Third is the knockout mice models. Fourth is humanized mice models. Fifth is the knockout or humanized models. Rodents, rats and mouse, and non-rodents, which include rabbit, dog, monkey and chimpanzee, are most commonly used species in preclinical pharmacokinetic studies. The selection or choice of animal model for drug-drug interaction study is based on its qualitative or quantitative similarities to human in basic physiological or biochemical features involved in the ADME of interacting drugs. The preferred animals for ADME studies are as shown on the screen in the table. For the absorption studies, the cynomolgus monkeys, dogs and rats are used. For the distribution studies, mice and rats and monkeys are used. For the metabolism studies, rhesus monkeys, cynomolgus monkeys and dogs and rats are used. And for the excretion studies, again cynomolgus monkeys are used. Several genetically modified models are widely scrutinized for pharmacokinetic, pharmacodynamic and toxicokinetic assessment of drugs. These include knockout mice, in which deletion of single, double or multiple genes from the mice genome is made, giving a single, double or multiple knockout mice. Second is the knock-in mice, in which replacement of single, double or multiple murine genes with its human orthologs for single, double or multiple humanized models are made. Third is the transgenic mice, in which addition of unique human gene to the mice is carried out. The humanization can be done at various levels in mice models, varying from single gene to the organ. Models involving humanization of whole organ like liver, immune system are termed as chimeric models. The term chimera refers to single organism possessing two or more distinct populations of genetically different cells, which can be produced by merger of multiple fertilized egg or by tissue or organ transplantation in animals. Chimeric mice with humanized livers have been tested for more accurate prediction of drug behavior, including its toxic effects, undesirable interaction probabilities with other drugs, and its metabolite profiling in humans. Mouse-human chimera enables early research on the in vivo human system that would otherwise not be possible owing to the ethical or technical constraints. The advantages of novel animal models are: first, they are intact animals and at the same time they possess drug metabolizing enzymes and transporters which are similar to humans. Secondly, unlike the clinical situations, the drugs can be administered for several days to enable improved assessment of enzymes induction potential of drugs. Third, the chimeric mice with humanized liver offer an accurate assessment of drug interaction and disposition involving multiple DMEs or interplay of the DMEs and transporters. They may act as promising in vivo species for determining human-specific hepatotoxicity. The multiple humanized models may offer the potential of evaluating drug effects on both cytochrome P3A4 induction and inhibition in an integrated single model system. The major shortcomings of these models are: first is reproducibility, higher cost and rare availability of the models. Secondly, only one or two genes are humanized in transgenic models, and the crosstalk between xenobiotic receptors, DMEs and transporters often get apparent, as the mice systems may or may not be working in a similar fashion as humans. In chimeric mice with humanized liver, the extent of humanization or the percentage of repopulation of mice liver with human hepatocyte varies between mice. Therefore, exactly uniform models are scarcely obtained. Fourth is that the humanization is itself a very tedious task and often poses problems for hepatocyte transplantation in mice due to transgene reversion, restricted human donor supply, inducing bleeding disorder, human complement system mediated kidney damage, and uncontrollable selection of human donors with the limited suitability of donors' age. The fifth is that the difference in body weight, rate of blood flow, plasma protein binding, half-life, volume of distribution and clearance of drug among various species may limit the direct extrapolation of drug-drug interaction results from humanized rodent models to humans. And lastly, the mathematical models are required to take suitable scaling factors in account during extrapolation and prediction of inter-individual variability in the levels and activities of cytochrome enzymes. In the next section of the in vivo testing, we'll be discussing about the animal rule as per FDA. The guidance product development under animal rule of FDA provides information and recommendations on drug and biological product developed to prevent serious or life-threatening conditions caused by exposure to lethal or permanently disabling toxic substances when human efficacy studies are not ethical and feasible. Animal rule are the regulations that set forth the pathway for approval of these products under 21 CFR 314.6. The drugs evaluated for efficacy under the animal rule should be evaluated for safety under the existing requirements for establishing the safety of new drugs. The FDA will hence rely on the effectiveness of the drug in animals to be a reliable indicator of its effectiveness in humans if the following four criteria are met. First, the pathophysiological mechanism of drugs toxicity and its prevention or substantial reduction by the product is well understood. Second, demonstration of effect of the substance in more than one animal species expected to react with a response predictive for humans unless the effect is demonstrated in a single animal species that represents a sufficiently well characterized animal model for predicting the human response. The endpoint in the animal study is clearly related to the desired benefits in humans, generally the enhancement of survival or prevention of major morbidity. The fourth is the pharmacokinetics and the pharmacodynamics data is relevant and sufficient to allow selection of an effective dose in humans. The animal rule specifies that the animal species for the adequate and well-controlled efficacy studies must be selected appropriately with regard to the disease or condition of interest and the investigational drug and its mechanism of action with the proper scientific justification. The sponsor should additionally provide data or information reflecting the key aspects of the pathophysiology of the condition of interest and enable prediction of human response. FDA will evaluate the suitability of the proposed animal model on a case-by-case basis. In certain conditions, two species may also be used for efficacy studies to model the relevant aspects of the human disease or condition and response to the investigational drug. For a drug demonstrating efficacy in a single study, a confirmatory efficacy study is necessary in that animal model. The confirmatory study should be conducted at a different laboratory. The supportive human efficacy data may negate the need for a confirmatory study. Approval of drug under the animal rule imposes three additional requirements, which are: first, the post-marketing studies, which needs to provide evaluation of safety and clinical benefit if circumstances arise in which a study would be feasible and ethical. A plan or approach to conduct such a study must be included with the new drug application or biologic license application. The second is restriction to ensure safe use if needed. The third is the information to be provided in the labeling to patient recipients that explains that for ethical or feasibility reasons, the drug approval was based on efficacy studies conducted in animals alone. The journal expectations as per the animal rule are: first, the animals used in investigation. The animals should be research naive for the animal rule specific studies, as their use in any prior research has the potential to cause stress and alter its physiological responses. The specified number of animals with adequate representation of both the sexes should be used in the study to ensure scientifically valid results. When selecting the animal with the defined characteristics for the development of animal models and the subsequent efficacy studies, the sponsors should discuss the FDA the applicability of those models and the results obtained from the efficacy studies to the diverse human population. Next is the study conduct. The Good Laboratory Practices Regulations, developed as a quality system for non-clinical safety studies, provide a framework for the conduct of non-clinical studies and is considered by FDA to be a well-established and relevant system for ensuring data quality and integrity for the adequate and well-controlled animal efficacy studies and the pharmacodynamic or pharmacokinetic studies in animals to select a dose and regime in humans. FDA recommends the use of good laboratory practices regulations to the extent practicable to ensure the data quality and integrity from these studies. FDA has the authority to inspect these studies prior to taking any action to verify the quality and integrity of the raw data, supporting documentation, facilities, equipments, and the results submitted to FDA in the final report. Inspectional observations will be shared with the inspected entity and evaluated by the review divisions to determine the impact of the observations on the acceptability of the data to support drug approval. The animal studies should comply with the applicable laws and regulation as prescribed by the Animal Welfare Act and the Public Health Service Policy on Human Care and Use of Laboratory Animals. The investigational drug used in these studies to select a dose and regime in humans ideally should be manufactured under current good manufacturing practices regulations. The investigational drug also should be as close as practicable to the marketed drug. Any difference should be discussed with the review divisions before the studies are initiated. Now, the types of animal care interventions. The animal care interventions are divided into three categories based on the rationale for their use. The first is the intervention as a part of adequate veterinary care. The second is intervention as supportive care to mimic the human clinical scenario. And the third is the intervention to permit the manifestation of the disease or condition of interest for the purpose of model development. The potential effects of the intervention should be considered in the design and interpretation of each study. The complete study report should include the following. The first is the prospectively designed protocol, including the statistical analysis plan, all protocol amendments, and a description of all protocol deviations. Second is the detailed description of the elements of study design, including the characterization of animals used in the study, information on the formulation and administration of the investigational drug and controls, and information on the characterization, preparation, and delivery of the challenge agent. A comprehensive description of study procedures, the results of each parameter or variable evaluated at each time point in the study, the final audited study report that includes analysis and interpretation of the study data and explanation of any deviation from the agreed upon plan for data quality and integrity. Sponsors are encouraged to submit prototype version of the study datasets prior to finalization of the datasets. The FDA encourages submitting study data in a standardized electronic format. Section 1136 of FDA S1A requires that non-clinical and clinical study data be submitted electronically to FDA in a format specified by the guidance. FDA's guidance for industry providing regulatory submissions in electronic format, standardized study data specifies that the electronic submission must be in a format that FDA can process, review and archive and describe the requirements including the type of submissions to which these requirements apply and timetables for the implementation. Further, the data standards should be implemented in the design, conduct and analysis of the studies. The next part of the module is the validation of animal model and a preclinical strategy. The criteria generally followed to establish validation for the animal models include face validity, predictive validity and target validity. The face validity refers to the similarity in biological aspects and symptoms between the animal model and the human disease. The face validation is often hampered by the lack of understanding of the biology underlying the disease symptoms. Predictive validation is the establishment of similar effects in the models using different clinical interventions. However, this demonstration is often difficult to achieve given incomplete correlation between the human and animal disease mechanisms and also the inability of the approved human drugs to be active in the appropriate animal model species. In the target validation, the target under investigation should demonstrate similar role in the disease model and the clinical situation. The classical example of such a target includes beta-3 adrenergic receptor, which has important role in the energy metabolism of rodents but not in humans. These are the general criteria typically used to establish validation of a model. However, a single criteria cannot be applied to all models since animal models are required for variety of purposes. Therefore, it is important that the validation is fit for purpose. For example, face validation may be required when researching potential pathophysiology mechanisms, while the predictive validation has relevance in the models to be used for benchmarking. Thus, different models can be combined to closely mimic the clinical situation. In order to define an optimal combination of models, a model validity scoring system has been proposed, which is based on 5 different criteria. The first is the species. The closer a species comes to human, the more likely is that the pathophysiology of the disease is similar to humans. Second is the complexity. The greater the complexity of the test system, the more probable that the relevant mechanisms are included. The third is the disease simulation. The disease of interest can be induced using different principles of the current models. The fourth is predictivity, in which the effect of drug in an experimental model is predicted in 2 different manners, the quantile response or the graded response. The fifth is face validity. This criteria is based on whether just one symptom of a disease is modeled or a set of symptoms is modeled. This scoring system may assist in assembling a screening cascade or combination of models which altogether has maximal validity. In the subsequent section, we will be discussing about the different in vivo models available for some common human diseases. The first is for tumors. There are 3 different models available for studying the drug behavior in tumors. The first is the syngeneic mouse tumor models including genetically engineered mice. The second is human tumor cell-derived xenograft on immunodeficient mice. And the third is patient-derived xenograft on immunodeficient mice. The syngeneic mouse tumor models offer several advantages which include: first, the possibility to model tumor development and pre-malignant neoplastic lesions. To study the tumor heterogeneity with multiple lesions in one mouse. The tumor microenvironment is representative of the studied tumor. And the fourth is that the studies on defined mutations is possible, including the analysis of the effects of these mutations in many genetic backgrounds. The possible disadvantages include: first, target tissue expression patterns can be different between the mouse and the human. Tumor and microenvironment are both murine and human or mouse cross-reactive compounds are required. The third is the tumor development in animals is slow and variable. It is a costly and time-consuming process. And the last is that the limited number of genes can be engineered. The next is the human tumor cell-derived xenograft on the immunodeficient mice. The benefits of using such type of animal models include: first, the rapid analysis of the response to a therapeutic regime, and the second is the source of material virtually unlimited for immortal cell lines. The disadvantages are: first, Immunodeficient mice cannot adequately capture the intact human immune component. The second is that the human tumor microenvironment is not represented. The third is the orthotopic implant is often technically complicated. The fourth is that the in vitro passages induce artificial drift, leading to the outgrowth of cells with different characteristics than the primary tumors. The fifth is the poor predictive value. The third category is the patient-derived xenograph on the immunodeficient mice. Some advantages of such type of tumor models are: first, no evolutionary selection pressure from the in vitro culture, assuring a realistic reflection of original tumor heterogeneity. The stromal component is representative of the parental tumor in the initial passages. They offer the opportunity to evaluate tumors from metastatic sites or tumors that have developed resistance to multiple treatments. These studies have shown very good correlation between the response in pharmacodynamic models and clinical response in patients. The possible disadvantages are: first, the immunodeficient mice cannot adequately capture the intact human immune component. The tumor development in animals is slow. The orthotopic implant is often technically complicated, and it is expensive and labor intensive to establish and maintain the patient-derived xenograph bank. The next we are going to discuss about the in vivo models for the cardiovascular diseases. The cardiovascular diseases are the first leading cause of death and morbidity in the developed countries. The development of animal models of cardiovascular disease has provided us with important insights into the pathophysiology of this disease. In this, we'll be discussing about the animal models of atherothrombotic diseases. The animal models are categorized into three: the mouse model, transgenic model, and the rabbit model. First, the mouse models. Mouse models are widely used to study development and progression of atherosclerotic lesions. The current mouse models for atherosclerosis are based on genetic modification of lipoprotein metabolism with additional dietary changes, among them low-density lipoprotein receptor deficient mice and apolipoprotein E deficient mice are the most widely used. Additionally, the LDLR and ApoE double deficient mice which develop severe hyperlipidemia and atherosclerosis even on regular diet has been proposed as a suitable model to study the anti-atherosclerotic effect of compounds without having to feed the animals on atherogenic diet. The ApoE deficient mouse model has been used to test additional therapeutic effects of statins beyond those attributable solely to the cholesterol lowering. Another type of models used are the transgenic mice. Transgenic technologies have provided a series of useful mouse models to study hyperlipidemia and atherosclerosis, among them mice expressing mutant forms of ApoE such as ApoE3-leadin and ApoE transgenic mice are the most widely studied since they display a lipoprotein profile comparable to that of patients with dis-beta lipoproteinemia. The E3L transgenic mice develop atherosclerotic lesions with all the characteristics of human vasculopathy, ranging from fatty streak to mild, moderate and severe plaques. Additionally, E3L transgenic mice have proven to be more sensitive to a variety of hypolipidemic drugs and PPAR agonists. The third model is the rabbit models. The high cholesterol diet rabbit model has been widely used for experimental atherosclerosis. Cholesterol has been found to cause atherosclerotic changes in the rabbit arterial intima, which is very similar to human atherosclerosis. Atherosclerotic lesions can also develop in normolipemic rabbits as a result of repeated or continuous intimal injury by an indwelling aortic polyethylene catheter, balloon angioplasty or nitrogen exposure. The rabbit model has largely been used to study the influence of lipid lowering on the plaque formation and stabilization, unveiling the mechanisms by which lipid lowering reduces macrophage accumulation and other aspects of atheroma inflammation. The next we are going to discuss about the animal models of heart failure. The animal models currently used to study heart failure depend on the type of species used. Like for the murine, we use the myocardial damage which can be induced by chemical, electrical or surgical measures. Next is the ischemic reperfusion and the pressure overload. For the rabbit, we use the coronary artery occlusion and the pressure overload. For the dog, we use the microembolization and tachycardia. For the pig, we use the surgical mode balloon occlusion of the coronary arteries and the tachycardia for inducing the heart failure. The next human ailment we'll be discussing is the skin disease. There has been an explosion in the number of transgenic mouse models that are relevant to the human skin diseases, and the increasing number are being used for the drug discovery. The mouse models of dermatitis can be classified into those relying on some allergic responses to antigens and those resulting from the genetic manipulation. The animal models used for skin disorders are classified depending on the type of skin disease involved and are shown on screen. The first type of skin disorder is the inflammatory disease, which is further subcategorized into two types, atopic dermatitis and psoriasis. The atopic dermatitis can be induced by allergen or by genetically engineered mouse models. For the induction by allergen, passive sensitization model and epicutaneous sensitization model are used. For the genetically engineered mouse models, flaky tail mice, apolipoprotein C1 transgenic mice, NCTND mice and IL-4 transgenic mice can be used. For the induction of psoriasis, transgenic and knockout models are used. The autoimmune disease includes the systemic lupus erythematosus and scleroderma. For the induction of systemic lupus erythematosus, inbred mice strain are used. For the induction of scleroderma, naturally occurring tight skin mouse, inbred strain UCD 200 chickens can be used. And if scleroderma is to be induced, then bleomycin or vinyl chloride can be used. The third type of skin disorder is the skin cancer, which includes squamous cell carcinoma and melanoma. The squamous cell carcinoma can be induced using the transgenic mouse models, and the melanoma can be induced using three different ways. First is the chemical carcinogen induced on exposure to 7,12-dimethyl benzanthracene, which is a chemical carcinogen. The second is the UV radiation induced. The third is the transgenic models, which includes the zebrafish, which is one of the most powerful animal models for melanoma. The third disorder is the wound models. In the wound model, the excisional wound model can be induced in the porcine, the hairless mouse ear wound and the rabbit ear wound. The next is skin infection, which includes leprosy and acne. Leprosy can be induced using the footpad inoculation or the 9-banded armadillo. The acne can be induced using the rabbit ear model, rhino mouse model, Mexican hairless dog model. The last category of the skin disorder is photodermatology, in which the photoaging is induced using UVB. The next are the neurological disorders. Over the past years, the development of animal models of neurological disorders has progressed rapidly due to the characterization of the molecular and genetic causes underlying these disorders. These animal models range from interventional models including xenograph, neurotoxic or mechanical lesion models to knockout and transgenic models. The animal models are important in understanding the etiology, pathophysiology and progression of disorders and hence developing therapeutic interventions. Parkinson's disease is one of the most common neurodegenerative disorders characterized by clinical symptoms of bradykinesia, resting tremor, rigidity and postural instability. Moreover, in the advanced stages, the non-motor symptoms such as dementia, olfactory dysfunction and psychiatric features also occur frequently. Experimental Parkinson's disease models can be divided in toxin-induced models and genetic models as shown on screen. The PD can be induced using toxins such as 6-hydroxydopamine, 1-methyl-4-phenyl-1236-tetrahydropyridine and rotenone. Similarly, the genetic PD models can also be used for the induction of Parkinson's disease. The next category of disorder is glaucoma. Glaucoma is a neurodegenerative disorder characterized by progressive age-related death of retinal ganglion cells and degeneration of the optic nerve. Animal models of glaucoma are essential to understand the natural course of disease and to develop therapeutic interventions to halt or reverse the progression of the disease. Of the animal models available for glaucoma, those based on rodent systems are highly attractive for numerous reasons including their high degree of availability, potential for experimental and genetic manipulation, short lifespan, relatively low cost and ocular structure and physiology that is relatively comparable to humans. The extent and duration of intraocular pressure elevation in a wide variety of glaucoma models is positively correlated. Rodent models of glaucoma are described and grouped according to whether the pathogenesis is genetic or experimentally induced. For the genetic mouse model, point mutations can be made or multiple mutations can be made. For the experimental rodent models, laser-induced ocular hypertension or S-antigen administration can be done for the induction of glaucoma. So students, in this module we have learned about different in vivo tests available for drug-drug interaction studies, their advantages and limitations, and also we have studied what is animal rule, what are the conditions required for the conduct of study under animal rule. Next, we have studied about the validation of animal models, and lastly we have studied about the different models used in the testing of pharmaceuticals for common human ailments. Thank you.